Alright, Kryptonians, it's time for the Krypton Report. It's me, your host, Tyler, and with me is my special guest, you've heard before, the Batman of the Southgate Media Podcasting Network. That's right, the one, the only, Mr. Phil. Welcome, Mr. Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Tyler.
You're welcome. Alright, so let's knock this out of the way real quick here. Some news that's been going on. We know that Supergirl is now on the CW, and we knew earlier that Maggie Sawyer had been announced to be on the show. We don't have any casting yet, but they just released the other day that they're in talks of bringing on Oracle and Batwoman. What are your thoughts, Phil?
I think that would be awesome. Let's get some more Bat characters in here, but from what I hear, or I think I read somewhere that they're saying, I guess they're in talks with Gotham to share the characters.
Yeah. It goes back to something with Batman and the TV rights with Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're opening up more like, it's so weird. We've talked about this multiple times about, they say that there's not, the same universe, the movies and the TV, that they can share characters and all this, but yet they killed off every one of the Suicide Squad characters that would have appeared in the movie, or they just disappeared from all the shows. But Flash, and now we know that they're bringing Superman on, so we'll have two Superman, and so looks like they're opening up. I think Batwoman's definitely a positive character because she's a character people don't really know about, and they think, oh, that girl growing up, something like that. So that could be a really cool, if they're not going to do Batman, to get Batwoman on there. And then there's the whole relationship with Maggie Sawyer. And it just continues like the female empowerment of the show.
Oh yeah, and then you introduce those characters, and like I said, they should introduce like Nightwing or somebody maybe on Arrow, so then eventually when Arrow goes off the air, they can like replace it with like either a Nightwing show or like a team show with like all the Gotham people.
And as you talk about this, Solomon's pointing towards Nightwing on my wall. He knows. He knows, Phil.
This is a good idea.
So, of course, you would be all about Nightwing coming and showing up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame him. Nightwing is a great character. So, I'm hoping that we get to see these changes. And I've said for a long time, what I would love to see between all these shows is just like a Birds of Prey. Like, if they don't want to do, like, everyone wants all these different spin-off shows, and I get it. But I keep saying, do a web series. Like a summer series.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it, because we get Batgirl or Oracle or Batwoman, but we already have the White Canary, and we have Huntress, who was supposed to have come back in season 4, but didn't show up, so it'd be nice if she showed back up.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just think that would be cool. But alright, so let's jump into some episodes here. Now, we're gonna start with episode 19, Myriad. What did you think of this episode right off the bat? Just your initial thoughts.
It was just, I really liked it. I was just like, wow, they're going here already, in season 1, and just, I don't know, I'm just like, I didn't think they were going to get this comic booky already, but, they
hold nothing back, it seems like.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. As much as I loved the first half of this season, I think the second half of the season really ramped things up, and they really brought their A game in the second half of the season.
Oh yeah, totally. It was one of those, go back and watch Arrow season 1. They were testing out at the beginning and seeing what was working, and then really just continued to improve on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it did great. And like the whole Myriad thing, I thought was cool and weird at the same time, because like I kept telling Janine, it kind of reminds me of the anti-life equation. And I kept trying to explain that to her. Like, okay, let me get this straight. But I like the duality nature of the two last episodes, being like one.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, it was the season finale. So I mean, they, instead of trying to jam a ton of stuff into one episode, it was kind of like a 2-part episode.
Exactly. Now the one thing about this that was cool and shocking though is at the beginning you have Maxima already in prison and she's there at the DEO, and I feel like it was almost a waste of a character. Like, it was just a way of saying, getting a cool name drop.
Yeah, I know how you feel. Hopefully they bring her back in season 2. Because, I mean, yeah.
She drops about how she wasn't going to marry, like, she wanted to marry Kal-El. He said no, so she's like, oh, I guess I'll marry and serve your non. And I'm like, that's a big character. And Jenny and I have been rewatching all of Smallville. And, like, we watched the episode with her in Smallville. And it's just kind of like, But I thought this Maximo, like, really was there. Like, it could have been a really good character. You know, you have all the humans who are basically just mindless drones walking around, and then you have Superman who is away off planet. I like that they're like, oh, he's off planet handling something.
That was so like the Supergirl movie. Yeah, Superman's off planet.
Oh yeah, we got something that's going to tie into the Supergirl movie here. And I did think it was hilarious that she's there and Kara's watching everybody at Catco, zoned out, zombified, and then Kat just comes walking in like nothing's wrong. And at first I'm like, oh, okay, alright, what's going on? And then they have that really cool dialogue that Maxwell Lord had provided her with the earphone, or the earrings that protected her mind. And Maxwell Lord's such an interesting character because sometimes he's his own, and then sometimes he is a Lex Luthor wannabe.
Yeah, that whole scene, I was like, I'm like, is Max really being as altruistic as he's acting, or did he, I don't know, since he couldn't have Alex, was he chasing after Kat now, as he's seeing her as like this unattainable prize that he was going to try to get?
So, I mean, and then we also see that Alex is on the run with John Jones, and he is disguised as a little child, which is hilarious.
Well, yeah, that's the best person to go on the run with is a shapeshifter. Then they just have to worry about what Alex's appearance.
I love when they go to her mom's house, and she's like, "Who is this?" He's like, "It's a little harder to explain." And then she finds out he's the Martian, and then she starts asking all the scientific questions. You know, and then I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, "Yeah, that is interesting. How would he do that?" I'm like, "There's more to this. We got to know." Now, the one thing I will say that I've said before is I am not a fan of the actor that they got for Non. Like, he looks like he's playing young Malcolm McDowell.
No, is it the actor you don't like, or the way they write the role?
A little bit of both. Because Non was supposed to be big.
Yeah.
You know, he's supposed to be a really big, cursed dude. And I know hair color is not always, like, super important. But at the same time, like, in comics, a lot of times hair color is a very big character thing. Non's supposed to have dark hair. Some facial hair. So, I don't know. But his fate will discuss momentarily.
But I was gonna say, I just think they wrote him the way they did is because once Astra died, they wanted someone who, you know, the troops would follow, and
yeah, I mean, he didn't have to be the brain dead Non yet, the lobotomized Non, but still, like, just that character. Hold on, and pause. So Max, on the other hand, Max gives that whole story about his parents and how they die. And he has this idea about building a bomb. You know, it's going to kill all the Kryptonians, and Superman and Supergirl can get out, but they couldn't return to National City for 50 years, which is smart and sly, but also really mean. I was telling Janine, like, it's always interesting how, like, every Kryptonian, anything is bad except Superman and Supergirl. Like, every other Kryptonian that happened to survive was evil.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of like they do that to emphasize how good and noble Superman and Supergirl are.
And that's great. And I kind of, like I told Janine, it's like, if I were to ever, like, get a chance to write Superman, like, do, like, an Elseworld, I would write it as if the Kryptonian race had become corrupt, conquerors, and we're becoming villainous. And Jor-El recognizes that and saves his son. And it is more of, like, his nature of being on Earth that made him the great person he is. And that brings us back to, in this episode, Clark says he's on his way, and he shows up. And as he's flying towards where Kara is, we see he lands and joins the crowd. brainwashees.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts on that?
I was just like, it was just weird. I was like, okay, so all non-Kryptonians need to be protected from this too, and it's like, okay, you're gonna bring in. Well, I guess they did that so they could say, okay, this is why Superman's not joining in on the fight.
Yeah, I mean, they had that one-off line about he was raised on Earth and his mind doesn't think Kryptonian, or it's more Earth programmed nature over nurture, and that's why it's affecting him. And I'm like, okay. I mean, you gotta have some way of. It's one of those things it's hard to address the Superman issue and beat around it without being like, we had him off-world, which was fine. We didn't have to really bring him on-world, but they did. I mean, that's always something to kind of dance around. But I really like just Kara's character. Like, the more I watch the show and I rewatch the show, just her character and just the portrayal is amazing. I'm so excited that, we're going to get season 2. But that's digression here. Now, as Kara talks to Kat, and Kat gives an awesome speech about hope and about how Supergirl embodies hope and what she does, and they broadcast the message to help trying to wake people out of their myriadness. And I mean, I like that. Like, I did feel bad for a random character. What was her name? The redhead? Kelly? Maybe?
I can't remember.
I think it was Kelly. Because they have Jimmy, Wynn, and Kelly jump out windows at the same time. You kind of know that Kelly's not going to make it. Like, never seen her on the show before. She's going to get Jimmy. So she can't, she gets Wynn and she saves Wynn, she saves Jimmy, and poor Kelly plummets to her death. Hmm? And I was just like, you seriously caught the third person? It's not like they all jumped from the same building. It's not like they jumped from across town, But there's a lot of build-up in this. I mean, Lucy and all the DEO. And you know what? I like Lucy kind of being the head of the DEO, just because I think it gives her character more of something to do. Mm-hmm. And then it moves in. It ends with Hank showing up with Alex, and he's protecting Alex's mind, so she's not affected, but because of that, it doesn't allow him to protect himself as much, and it basically ends where Kara's going to fight Alex. And so that's 19, and then we'll segue into episode 20, the season finale, called Better Angels. Now, Phil, let me ask you this. The device that they find out is powering Myriad, did you recognize it?
Trying to remember. It's been a while.
Tetrahedron or
the name sounds familiar, but
it's the power device in Supergirl the movie that Kara in the movie knocks out, and it goes to Earth, and she has to go after it.
Okay.
So it's kind of a callback to Supergirl the movie. And I thought that was cool because a lot of times that movie gets very overlooked. Mm-hmm. In anything.
I haven't seen that movie in years. I haven't seen it anywhere. I would even rewatch it. I don't see it in stores or online anywhere.
Oh, it's hard to find. I found it at like a buybacks. Mm-hmm. And it was like $30 for the DVD. Because it's so rare. And I really wish they would have just put it on the Superman. Like, I bought the Superman Blu-ray set. Mm-hmm. That's like all the movies. I really wish they just would have put it on there.
Yeah, I have that set, yeah.
Because they put Superman versus the Mole Man on there as a bonus. I just wish they would have put Supergirl the movie in there as well.
Unless it's just like a rights issue or something, because that's why 66 Batman, they couldn't put that out for the longest time until recently, because there was so many different people held so many of the rights. Like, one person had rights to the music, one person had rights to, broadcast this, and
I don't know. But it was a mess. The whole Myriad ends, at the beginning of this one. Mm-hmm. And, we see that Clark doesn't come out of it. He's still laying there. We see his boots. And we have this whole, big battle between Kara and her sister. And during that battle, John Jones goes and gets their mom. And nothing says, oh snap, like bringing the mom into a sibling rivalry.
Hmm?
Now, Phil, do you have siblings?
No, I do not.
See, so you never had to deal with that whole problem of break it up, love your brother, do this. And I'm always like, fine. He always gets away with everything, and I get blamed for it. Now, in this episode, I really like that they go to the fact, like, when everyone snapped out of it, they find out how they're going to stop Myriad, because they still don't want to use the bomb that Maxwell Lord has. And we find out that the president in this episode is a woman, which I thought was awesome, because it's hinted at for what Season 2 is going to bring. And when Maxwell Lord gets the bomb, he's sitting there and he's, wanting them to finish doing what they need to do. And Kara decides she's going to go fight Non herself. And Non's not fighting alone. He has Indigo with him. Now, what are your feelings towards the character and the portrayal of Indigo?
It's kind of weird. I mean, in the comics, they did go that she was, eventually revealed that she was like a Brainiac, but she was a version of Brainiac from like way in the future. And she had acted like a hero for at least 2 years, I think, and then the Brainiac programming took over, and her teammates had to put her down.
See, I like the character, because it is like a different one, but it's a female, Brainiac, like back to we talked about like the show being very more female-centric. But what I didn't like is that her skin is blue, and they put her in a blue jumpsuit.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's because she's like an android or whatever, and it's just like...
Doesn't even make her, it makes her look like she want to be Mystique.
Yeah, I know. She doesn't look like artificial. She just looks like she looks like Mystique, and it's just like
it's if they would have not given her the jumpsuit and just given her a little bit something more Brainiac looking, or like an armor, or something like I love the casting, because I love the callback to she was Supergirl in Smallville, and that perpetuates just always bringing back characters. And technically, in this episode, we have 3 Supergirls in this episode. They never all share a scene together, but we have 3 actresses who have been Supergirl all in one episode, which is awesome when you think about, because that's all 3 live-action Supergirls together.
Mm-hmm.
But she's fighting, and they kind of kept with the T-1000-ish motif, with like her body being able to turn to knives like they did in Smallville.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was cool. And so we get to the climax battle, and she's there, and it's Indigo and Non versus Martian Manhunter and Supergirl. And we find out that all the other Kryptonians are in pods, because they're leaving Earth. The idea now is they're just going to kill everybody on Earth with the Myriad device with a high-pitched sound, basically causing our heads to explode. And they're going to leave. So I thought it was really cool that they have this battle. And I love the use of heat vision on this show.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I love that it's blue.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that they use it, because if I was Superman, I would use my heat vision so much. Just so much. It would be ridiculous how much I would use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that it's her and Non kind of squaring off using heat vision. And it looks awesome. But then think about it. If you're the actors and you were filming this, take away the special effects. It's just people staring at each other, screaming.
Just like the Black Canary.
Intensely, like... So that's just a very funny thought in my head.
Yeah.
But then if you watch, when she shoots Non, like it goes back into his head, and I wonder if he, like, falls down. So, 1, is he dead? 2, or is he now lobotomized? And 3, what happened to his body? Is it going to be one of those Maxwell Lord got his body? Because we see at the end that Max got the Omega-Hedron device.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Martian Manhunter rips Indigo in half. And what happens to her? Like, I wanted to see Supergirl just shoot her with heat vision, and she catches on fire. So, that's like, yay, all good. But then we find out that you can't stop Myriad anymore, so... And they're at the Fort Ross site, and it's actually Fort Ross. Now, I thought this was funny that no one had mentioned before that Fort Ross, like, the ship was still there. Like, it's information that no one ever asked or wanted to find out.
It's classified.
You know, like even when you're in the DEO, it's like, okay, you're telling me that it's still there. So I thought that was interesting. And Supergirl decides that she's going to fly it into space. Beautiful, beautiful plan. Now Alex makes the comment about if she does that, she can't breathe in space, there's no thrust, she can't fly, anything like that. Which is interesting because how many interpretations have we seen Superman fly into space or the atmosphere? So they're setting some new rules here about where it was going on. Makes you kind of wonder how Superman was off planet if what rules were flying, but that's the first kind of groundwork, I guess you could say, for the rules flying in space on this show. So basically, we see Kara picks it up, lifts it up, chucks it into space, which is always a great thing. And she's floating there. Then we see Alex flew her shuttle, and the next thing, Kara wakes up in the DEO. Everybody's okay. And I was like, okay, awesome. I'm still trying to figure out the whole flying in space thing. And then we find out that Kat decides to move Kira to a new room, which is her office, and that she's being promoted, which is cool. It also makes me wonder it's a way of changing the set in continuity, so that if the set changes, they don't have to worry about it looking different for the new network. And she calls her Kara, and like she knows her name. So I thought that was a big win for just the character of Kara herself. Mm-hmm. And then we have the big family dinner where everyone's there, and it's revealed again in these episodes, and we'll touch on it, that Jeremiah Danvers is alive in a place called Cadmus. And we're going to talk about that. Phil, what is Cadmus?
The secret government lab where all kinds of genetic experiments have gone on, some good, some bad. Superboy came out of Cadmus.
That's the biggest thing when you say Cadmus, I think that people jump to. Because that's where Superboy comes from. Now, we'll speculate, what do you think the role of Cadmus might be?
It might give us some antagonist for Supergirl, creatures or clones or whatever. They could be an ally of the DEO, or they could even be responsible for what's in that pod, because why couldn't they have shot that pod into space and have it come back down?
Yeah, so we'll get to the pod. My thoughts are it's going to be maybe Superboy as an adversary, someone they're trying to create to fight Superman, like their own Supergirl they can control. Maybe, do you remember the animated series when they did Galatea? Mm-hmm. Which was kind of a version of Power Girl. Maybe something like that, like a Power Girl or something in the same vein of having their own fighter. Maybe we'll develop more of the Superwoman, which Lucy Lane type thing, like they did in the comics. Like they try to create something to give powers to a regular human. Or, if we're going to go, Jeremiah's there, it's being theorized that we're either going to see the return of Hank Henshaw, like the real Hank Henshaw, or what if they do a story of a cyborg Superman, and it's Dean Cain as the cyborg Superman.
They could do that for the cyborg, because that's how the cyborg Superman, he got his powers and he could interface with any machinery, and that's how he originally became Cyborg Superman. Is he kind of interfaced with Kal-El's the ship that brought him to Earth.
And I mean, we know that they kind of have their own universe and they've established their own things, so they can tweak things. I mean, recently in the New 52, Cyborg Superman was actually Kara's father, Zor-El, in a very interesting twist. So I mean, it's possible. All those are possible. Now, the show ends with a cliffhanger where a pod crashes and Kara and Marsh Manhunter fly to it. And she says, it looks like my pod. And when they open it, she says something like, how can this be? And then it cuts. What do you think's in the pod?
Like I said, it could, like you said, it could be Superboy. I was thinking Crypto, the super dog, but
Yep, that's what Solomon wants it to be.
they could always switch plans now if they're on the CW. I mean, it could have been one thing. Maybe they'll change their plans, and maybe she rips it open, and it's like, maybe it's Captain Cold.
That would be crazy. I was sitting there thinking to myself, are we going to do time travel? Like, is it somehow it's her own pod? Or something crazy like that. I've seen people speculate online like it's Mon-El. But I'm like, for me, that's getting too crazy, like deep, convoluted comic book lore that people might be like, what? But I don't know. I'm curious to see what it is. It has to be something that she recognizes, you know?
What if it's Barry Allen? I need your help. I made a mistake.
I've really screwed up time. So I really need you to push me really far.
It's like the end of Back to the Future 2. I just sent you back a few weeks ago. I'm back.
Yeah, seriously. So, all right. Well, I mean, that wraps up the first season of Supergirl. Overall, out of a 5 shield rating, what would you give the first season?
It was pretty good. I think out of 5, I'd probably give it a 4.5.
See, I'm teetering on a 4. Like, okay. I always judge this series. Is it one that I could go back and rewatch again and enjoy it continually? First season sometimes are rough because they find their footing. Mm-hmm. So I really think the show is strong.
Well, here's a question I have. Maybe you know, maybe people listening might have. Do you know when season 1's coming out on Blu-ray?
Yes, it's September. I have it because I pre-ordered it from Amazon. Mm-hmm. Let's pull that up right now. Good old Amazon.
Because, yeah, I would like to watch that and Flash and Arrow before those start back up.
See, my problem is, like, I want to buy them all when they first come out, but I've gotten in a really bad habit of waiting until Black Friday. Mm-hmm. Because I usually have them for like $10 or $20, depending if you get Blu-ray or DVD. Mm-hmm. So I'm just so... Alright. August 9th.
August 9th?
Yeah.
Nice.
Supergirl now. Okay. Since we're on the subject, Flash Season 2.
I was looking at...
September 6th.
Okay.
And then let's see if Arrow is on.
I thought Arrow was pretty close. I thought Arrow was like either the week before or the week after Flash.
Makes sense. I like that there's like... I like when they don't release them all on the same day.
Yes.
August 30th.
So I think that is the week before Flash.
It is. So it's basically Supergirl a couple weeks later, Arrow a week later, Flash. See, I think that gives you enough time to be able to get one, watch it, and then get the next one, watch it, and get caught up. And then we know that they're starting to re-air Supergirl Mondays, 2 episodes on the CW.
That's right. So if you don't want to buy the Blu-ray, set your DVRs.
It might even show up on Netflix sometime because that whole new deal they signed.
Yes.
It makes me wonder because now, like, but once ago, like you were talking about earlier, the first season, is it still owned by CBS? Like, how does that work? Because a lot of CBS stuff, you don't see as much of it on Netflix as you do other networks. Mm-hmm. So, who knows? All the behind-the-scenes stuff. We just want to enjoy our fandom. But, well, Phil, I want to thank you for being on the show, finishing out the season here. It's been a rocky time getting all this done. But Jania is finishing up her play this week, so we'll return to our normal broadcasting company.
Hey, no problem. We're all one big happy family here on the Legends of DC.
Oh my gosh, the new seasons are going to be so much fun.
You people are going to get so much content, maybe even more than it was originally planned.
4 shows.
At least 4 shows, maybe more.
With speculation about Constantine, who knows what else. Just remember, everyone, Phil, you can find Phil all over social media. And remember that, look up and